You should get to the point where anyone else would quit, and you're not gonna stop there. No, what are you waiting for? Do it! Just do it! Yes, you can! Just do it!
Welcome back to the Real Business Roundtable. Thank you for joining us. Please make sure, if you like this video, to like and subscribe. Today we're going to be talking about turning an idea into reality. How to start a business, what are those first steps, and beyond, how do you set milestones, so on, so forth, and whatnot. I'll let Andy kind of take it away.
Yes. So we have a lot of people out there that are trying to figure out what business they should get into, or they have a really cool idea. We have all heard the advice where you have to execute. Oh, it's about execution. Oh, it's about, you got to do it. You got to do it. Okay, what is the definition, and how, if we lift the hood for execution, what's within that box? What's within the box? Oh, let's show a box. I want a cardboard box.
What's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
The cardboard box opens, right? What happens within execution are those things. Now we're going to talk about those things. If you have a cool business idea,
Yeah.
like in your opinion, what are some of first things? Because we've done this ourselves.
Yeah,
what are some of the first things that we?
First thing that I do, and there's so many different ways that you can do it, so I'll kind of try to keep it a little bit simple, but just do your research. Make sure that the idea is something that is scalable, that you can monetize, something that you can make money from, and something that people will actually be interested in. The wildest ideas turn into, some of the best-selling products, but at the same time, there are ideas out there that just aren't good. I'm not saying your idea is not good, but the first thing that I would normally do is just do a ton of research, understand the market, the industry, the market where you're located, where you want to sell this product, where you are located, if you want to do it online, nationally, and then also find out what kind of audience are you going to be, targeting? What kind of audience is going to be the demographic, the people who are going to be buying this product? Are there a lot of people out there? That's what you got to find out, because honestly, there's certain business ideas and product ideas that are extremely niche that still are good ideas, but they're not scalable, and it won't provide you put a lot of time into this thing, you're going to, and it's not going to provide you with the money that you're expecting out of it. So you got to make sure that whatever you're going to sell, whatever you're going to do, scalable, and there's an audience and a demographic for it. That's the first thing I would do before I spend any money on it.
Yeah.
And then honestly, the second thing I personally like doing, I love creating graphics. I love seeing it, feeling it, touching it. I like working on it. And when I see a logo for the first time, that is usually the first step. And honestly, it's the one that changes the most, in my opinion, because, you create a logo and you think it's like, oh my God, this is it. And then you realize, a couple months down the road, when you have the business up and running, you've had a couple of sales, you've done a couple of things, you realize that, maybe we can change this around a little bit. Maybe we can do a little bit more brand, changes, create some brand continuity. Creating the image. I would create the image of the business once I've realized that it is scalable, it is monetizable, and there's a demographic for it.
When you have a business idea, those are excellent initial steps. You have to make sure that it's something that the public needs, or a certain sector of a market needs, an industry needs. Again, back to the original, kind of grassroots of what we talk about is, what problem are you solving? Why would somebody want this? Are you making something more efficient? Are you making something easier to do? Before you create a logo, create a name, spend money on social handles, all that shit. That's the frosting after finding out the actual utility of your business.
I actually missed one big part.
What?
Creating a business plan. So when you have the idea, write it down. Come up with a business plan. Look up online what a business plan looks like. Write it out. I create business plans off my ideas all the time just so I can go back and read it and understand where my thoughts were at the time.
So I simplify the business plan thing because you see a lot of like business students and a lot of younger people. Oh, a business plan, and they make it into this big drawn out. It's a few questions. What, when, where, why, who, and how. 6 basic questions that you can answer. You don't need to make it into a big college thesis, pages and pages of fluff and bullshit. No.
Well, that is a business plan. Like, it doesn't need to be a whole thing.
I'm into simplicity, and I'm telling you right now, if you go to investors and you show them this big, long, drawn-out MIT study, they're going to go to sleep or they're going to pay someone to decipher it for them.
No, I agree.
Keep it
Simple and straight to the point.
Keep it simple. Bang.
Show the value.
What is it? When is it happening? How is it happening? Where? What? Like, talk about like what, when, where, why, who? Who are the founders? Okay. How are you planning on doing it? When? Why? What is when? So for the why, it's what problem are you solving? Why are you creating this business? What is the idea? Bang, bang, bang. I'll tell you right now, if you put together a simple business plan, it'll make it a lot easier and less stressful for yourself. Again, this is my opinion, but I have dealt with people in the business world where if they see a long business plan, I see them glaze over and they're like, it's like, I gotta read this. I'm gonna pay my assistant to read this and I'll talk to you in 2 weeks. Then he goes on vacation. Then he's playing poker somewhere. He totally fucking forgot about you. He's like, oh, yeah, you're the guy with the idea. I don't got time for you. I'm going to Tahiti next week. When you had the person in front of you right there, but he goes, yeah, MIT study. I think I don't got time for this. Because I hate to say it, sometimes when someone is an investor and they've made all their money, they reach this level of, I don't know the word to use. And I don't want to be insulting on the show, but I guess there's a limited time, limited effort. So if you make it easy for them, low barrier of entry, hey, my business plan's on 1 page. Who the F can't read 1 page? Who can't read 1 page? So you're not giving them a reason to, yeah, I'll read it. Even sometimes our proposals, I've made those things so simple to the point where someone goes, is this a proposal? I go, yes, it's condensed so you don't drag your ass saying that I'll read through it in a few days. No. There's only a handful of words here, bro.
Well, it's a little bit more intricate than that.
It's a handful of words here. No, because this is how you sift out the bullshitters. Keep your business plans simple. Now, when you identify a business plan, or sometimes people keep their business plan up here, a business plan is just an initial guide that can change, because during the journey of building a business, you can learn different things like, hey, we should be adding this. Holy crap, there's a whole different market over here that we could be fulfilling because they need this. So, back to what Jake said, business plan, 100%. I believe in a more simple business plan. Also, like I said earlier, the viability, the utility of that business. Whoever it is you're serving, whoever it is you're selling the product or service to, do you foresee them needing this reoccurring? Do you foresee them needing this one time? If it's one time, when does that thing or that service need to be done again? You have to factor in the life cycle of your business. You have to factor in the demand. How often would your market need this? Also, you need to be very careful of hobby businesses. If a business is a hobby business,
trendy, like it's following trends, stuff like that. Yeah.
You need to, if you have some little thing that you're into, put it under an umbrella LLC or, a S Corp called like your last name incorporated or something like that, and then operate under a DBA called, Joanne's Widgets and Crafts or some kind of thing. That anytime you could change it based on the trends that change and come and go. But another thing that I want to talk about when it comes to execution is if you have an idea after doing your research and everything checks the boxes like reoccurring revenue or a good demand and it's a higher ticket, or if it's a lower ticket, there's a higher volume because you want to make sure that it's a viable business. Once you get over that hump of kind of qualifying and verifying and vetting your idea, it's very important to go into the corporate structural best practices. So identifying a name. So say you got something, you want to identify a name. Pick a cool name that's different. Always want to double check if somebody's using it. The easiest way to do this is go on to like a domain registrar, type in a domain, see who else is out there that might be using the domain. I guess you could say that's the easy way to see what's being used. Now, if you see a domain that's not active, there's no website for it, you can find out if that website's for sale, but also you can go on to like different trademark websites and try to figure out, okay, is this trademarked? Is somebody using it? And this will give you some clearance on a name. Once you get the actual physical name locked down, then you need to make a logo. Don't make a logo yourself if you're not a graphic designer. If you're not a graphic designer, do not cheap out.
There's a lot. Yeah, don't cheap out. There's a lot of resources out there that you can use. Fiverr, crowdsource. There's a lot of different, resources that you have access to that are somewhat budget friendly. Fiverr has a lot of budget friendly and then very high end, options. CrowdSpring not so much, but yeah, and all that stuff that you were mentioning. The demographic, the pricing, the all that stuff, how you're gonna sell it. I feel like for me, that all comes down to the business plan for me. I get it, showing an investor business plan, portfolio, whatever it is, that you want to keep simple. But for me personally, when I have an idea and I have my notebook, I have my leather notebook that I write different things down in, I'm going to write all that information down. It'll probably be like 3 pages of just a complete breakdown of the business, just so I understand it completely. Because when I write something down, I understand it better. That's just for me.
I just say that when I was in business school, a lot of the kids that I was in school with were so, oh my God, a business plan. And I'm like, just simplify it. It wasn't, let me back up. It wasn't just for an investor. It was to make it less of such a fearful task. Like everyone was like, oh my God, the business plan. How the fuck am I gonna make this? So I'm thinking in my head, like, let's simplify it. Break it down to its core. Okay, I'll give you an example. Contracts. Contracts are these long, drawn out clauses and this and that and ooh. You take a clause, change it into one simple sentence.
That also, I mean,
that's an example. You're simplifying.
Yeah, simplifying is 100%.
Simplifying the process.
But that's also varies based on industry because there's a ton of different contracts. I don't want to get into that. That shit is a nightmare. But simplifying things, especially for service, it could be very helpful. Could kind of expedite a process. But back to the execution. Once you have all this understanding, you got it down, you get the pricing, you kind of have an idea of like what you want the logo to look like. Maybe you have inspiration or you had someone make it for you, whatever it is. Go file for the LLC, right? You go get all that shit done, make it official. You'll have the paperwork, it'll feel good, and then you just go. You just go and do. Because if you don't do, then nothing's gonna come out of it. Don't let it sit. Do it. Just do it. Just go and do it.
In the process of taking an idea and making it a reality, just break it up into micro steps. So we went into the research. Mm-hmm. We went into coming up with a name, verifying the name's not being used, locking down the domain. It's very important. If you go and look up a domain, don't keep looking it up and rubbing your chin. It's like $10 a year. Buy the damn domain. Register the social media handles. What am I talking about? Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. Those are some of the majors. Make sure you have it locked down. Then you need to make sure that that really cool name that you have a nice logo. Don't cheap out. Hire a good graphic designer. Get that made. Make sure that the brand's color palette is in line with who you're trying to do business with. Do a little research on industries, popular color palettes. You can look it up. Psychological triggers associated with certain color palettes. When I say color palette, what do you mean? I'm talking about like gray, blue, sky blue. So the color palette of what you use for your logo is going to greatly impact how somebody feels when they see your logo. So don't cheap out. Make sure you're choosing something that's in line with who you're doing business with. Next.
Now, one thing I thought of is there are certain businesses that start in completely turned over, like opposite of what we've explained, where someone in the first thing I'm thinking of is Insomnia Cookies. They're a pretty big brand now. They started out of a college dorm and they were just selling cookies out of it. They didn't think it would turn into a business. They had this passion of baking and they started selling them just because why not? Kind of like selling snacks at high school, whatever it is. Making pizza out of your house. There's this guy who makes pizza out of a car dealership, a Subaru car dealership, trying to raise money to start his own pizza shop. Not sure where it is, but look it up and you'll find it. Businesses start like this as well. If you have a passion for something, which I'll say again and again and again, over and over and over again. If you have a passion in something that could be a business and you understand that it could be a business and you've done your research and you just have a passion in it, baking, cooking pizza, whatever it is, a service, you can then turn that into a business. You can do it, notice that you can make a little bit of money out of it, see that there is an audience for it, people that will purchase these products, services, goods from you. And then you do the whole process backwards. Create the logo, create the Instagram page, create the website, get the LLC or whatever you will end up filing as. You can do it the opposite way as well. There's no like real playbook depending on what you're doing. I mean, if you're going to do like some big product or a big like software, something like that, that's different, obviously. But there are passion businesses that you can start in many different ways. There's no real or right or wrong way to do it. I just wanted to point that out because as we're talking about this, I'm thinking about all these places that are very successful, that have done very well, that literally started out of a college dorm, out of a garage. I mean, a lot of these businesses have. You never know how far it's going to go until you just do it. And that's the final step, in my opinion, is just go out and do it. Don't stop.
Yeah, so once that's all official and you're moving in the right direction, you want to make sure you have a Google My Business page. If you don't want to operate out of your house, try to find a small little office, obviously budget pending. Try to find a small little office, or what I would personally recommend is do what I did, lead with sales. Figure out a sales process. Get a few customers under your belt, then register a specific business address with Google My Business. Set that all up. Get a website. Website. Make sure you have a website, because regardless what anybody says or thinks, people are going to check you out. If you don't have a website, you don't come off credible. And the scary piece is how many people have walked away from doing business with you because you didn't. Because you'll never know. You'll never know who has walked away. Think about that for a minute. It's huge and it's scary. So make sure you have a website for your business. Now, we need to talk about the most important piece in a business is executing a sales strategy. Now, is it small enough of an operation that you can handle the sales? Maybe you did some sales for another company and you're going to do it for yourself now. Great, that's a blessing, because the sales are going to fuel growth, improvements, innovation, infrastructure, scaling, growing. Very important to lead with sales. You have to identify, okay, who am I selling to? How do I find out if those people need my product specifically? Now, you're going to have a demographic, a group of people, an industry that you're going after. How do you communicate with the right people? Now, the sale is going to be the byproduct of some kind of response A response meaning running some ads. You could run some ads, online with some Google ads, some Instagram, whatever. The people are going to be responding to those ads. You have to ask yourself, okay, if I get an inquiry, who's going to manage that? If it's yourself, that's great. But if not, then you're going to have to hire a salesperson. So you got to plan all this stuff out. And again, these are stages. Have a website, then you ran your ad to hire a salesperson. He checks you out. Oh, he sees you have this active social media and you have a website. Okay, I'll go work for this company. Because you're getting checked out, not only by customers, by potential employees and stuff like that. So then you move into sales. Then the question is, okay, now that you have a salesperson or a sales process, how are you going to generate those inquiries or the walk-ins or the traffic or what? Now you got to get into actual, okay, what are you going to do to feed the leads or feed the inquiries or that? You got to consider advertising. You got to consider your messaging, all that stuff. Preferably, I would say stick with digital first, then move into other avenues, budget pending. So as you grow, then you can move into other areas like traditional media. Never go too crazy with the advertising. Your advertising should not exceed 10 to 20% of your top line revenue. If you're just starting out and you have no revenue, the good rule of thumb is to kind of, whatever your goal is, realistic goal, try to invest about 10 to 20% of whatever that goal is. And that's where you kind of run into the situation where if you don't have the cash to advertise or you don't have the revenue to base it off of, you have to either get funding or create your own funding through sales. I think a lot of people forget about that, is that the actual sales that you bring in will fund the growth that you're trying to fill or feed.
As long as you allocate the money right, 100%. The last thing I want to say before we close it out is that I've learned one of the most important things when starting a business and the first initial running of the business is organization. If you're not organized within your whatever it is on your computer, if you're not organized and you don't have structure, it's going to make it really hard to scale, to grow. It's gonna get weird. It's gonna get tough because you're gonna need things that you're gonna be missing, and it's just, you're gonna want a structure. Having structure and organization is extremely important, and it's in the end, it's extremely valuable when you want to scale. And I don't know, do you have anything else you want to say before we close it out?
I would say that if you have an idea, listen to some of these steps that we talked about in this episode. If you have any further questions, you can always send us a DM, but we're always here to help. We're always here to share. We've experienced it and we've done it, and we've worked with many, many, many businesses, hundreds of businesses that were just starting out from an idea, made it into a reality, from e-commerce to, construction. So we're always here to help. But yeah, don't just kind of sit there with your idea and talk. Take action, do, and execute.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today on Real Business Roundtable. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please like, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you can notify every single time we post a new episode. Check us out on Instagram for clips, updates, and more. We'll catch you next time. Peace out.